This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
One more time. Everybody lift your voice. Can we have a mass choir if you know the song? Lift your voice. One who let me no.
The body scanner reveals the brutal truth about your body that your regular scale will never tell you. For weeks,
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Can you lift your hands? You are there. I just want you to lift your voice. I'm gonna see like one. Wakati na chideta abama le kamimo edamurei kale de ila de ogo oh kale jogurure ipelati Jesu vila la la if you know the song, you want to join it. I say, hey, oh, yeah, duro nive, oh, duro. As one body in Christ Jesus, can you lift your voice? Everybody say, everybody, ọjọ́ agbára náà tí ọ sọdọ̀ tasọjọ bíbọ kalẹ̀ ìràwọ̀ méje ló yọ ní òkè àwọn ẹyẹ òkè lùlù àwọn ẹyẹ wọn kèlú mi lùlù ọrẹ ìràwọ̀ méje ló yọ ní òkè ọrẹ kẹtẹ lamando àwọn ẹyẹ òkè lùlù jeriboya. Jerry, like a mass choir in concert form, can we lift our voices? We join the angels, the 20 and the 4 elders. Àwọn áńgẹ́lì o, Foria, oh, ye Baba, I want again. We are singing unto the Lord today. I want again. War for Lord, oh, Bamide, Shagomide, Bobo, Achipa, you want to lift your worship for Hoteleko, Lokene, you're
AI-made digital products, the fastest way to start earning online. And Black Friday and Cyber Monday is...
And we overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our decrees.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's bring everybody else in. Hit the like button. Hope you all are doing well. I know. Welcome back. Good to see all of you now. Let me see here. All right. Today we're talking about Two-Face. We'll continue to talk about Two-Face. Welcome back. Yes, Two-Face Idibia. Welcome back. We're talking about Two-Face. We're talking about Two-Face and Natasha, and maybe by extension, we'll talk about Annie Idibia. Welcome back. Just help me hit the like button so you can, not to how you did. Let's ping everybody else into the room. We have a lot of stuff to cover today, okay? And I will, I might have a special guest at the top of the hour as well. So let's call it. It's very, very important stuff we're doing today. So, we always do important stuff. But just help me ping everybody else into the room. Make sure you're hitting the like button. We're probably missing about 7 likes. So if you hit the like button, you will notice that it will push it out to other people, okay? So you can try it out and see it for yourself. But yeah, anyway, welcome back. My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. What we do here is we extract life and relationship lessons from trendy topics. We focus on self-power, social intelligence, attraction, seduction, emotional intelligence, and this is the standpoint that we tackle our talking point from. In case you haven't done so, you can download our books for free. My wife and I's books. One is called Get My Marriage Back. The other one is called Number One Red Flag. You can get it absolutely for free from manofprestige.com. It's absolutely free. So let's not just come here and be gossiping about other people's lives. Let's make sure that we're walking away with something that will absolutely benefit us. Okay, so we're not just either you like it, either you know it or not. You're tapping into certain things when you're listening to some of the stories. Make sure you're not walking away with the wrong idea. Okay, ideas like love is not enough. Make sure you're not walking away with stupid stuff. Okay, make sure you're actually walking away with something that can actually benefit your life as we cover some of these stories. At the end of the day, we cover Two-Face story, we cover Natasha's story. It's not really about them, it's about me and you. I don't know if you know this already. It's truly about me and you. Very, very important that you pay attention to that. Okay, so let's make sure that we're being intentional as we cover the stories. All right, so like I said, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. So yes, we have a framework here as we cover some of this stuff. We do have a framework. Hello Marriott, good to see you, Marriott. So the first thing first, we tend to cover collapsed relationships and marriages and stuff like that. That's because I want to keep highlighting to you that it's really about managing your pride and your expectations. Okay, everything else is a function of how you think of pride and expectations, and pride and expectation has to come from a place of self-awareness, because obviously nobody in their right mind on a regular day is going to say I am prideful. Even the most pompous of them will say, and look at someone like Two-Face. Most people believe he's a humble guy, right? That's one of his branded personas, right? He's one of the most humblest, is that a word? Humblest artist out there, So of course, it's hard to see like how could he like really? It's known as the most humble guy in the industry, in the music industry. So where are we going with this? So now, so Uncle Mano, good to see you, sir. I said, yo, what's up? He says, please help me revise to Babao before Natasha beats nonsense commit for his brain. Listen, we will try to save all the two babas out there, not just two baba. There's many, many, many two babas out there, and many of them right now they can't see that far, but they're probably listening. So we'll try our best. Hopefully, they can self-reflect enough to see that at the end of the day they have the power. So, but let's talk. Today I'm talking about the emotional flaw that ruined his prestige. Two-Face is one of our legends out of Nigeria. He is, in fact, the number one guy when it comes to modern day Afrobeats, right? He was the first guy that his song went international with the song African Queen. So, of course, people are also emotional about this. The most emotional of them are saying, Shebi, that is his piece. Let him enjoy his piece. You too, you're emotional, just so you know. All of you are emotional, okay? But yes, I'm the only one that's not emotional. Okay, how about that? But no, I'm just kidding. I just want us to pay closer attention to what is really going on with this story. Okay, I want us to pay special attention to the deeper parts of this story. But who are we talking about? We're talking about Two-Face. He has a public life, right? So obviously, we're talking about his public love life by default, right? But Two-Face come from the era of R&B, Niger R&B, Plantation Boys. We're talking about the Remedies, right? We're talking about what the Tribesmen, something like that, right? I already left Niger at that time, so I know them small. So when they were blowing up in their era, like in the mid 90s to the early 2000s was their real era before the Afrobeats that we know today. But Two-Face was on the forefront of that. He was the lead singer of a group called Plantation Boys that was back then signed to Kenny's Music. I knew Kenny's Music because he had some other artists and stuff. But anyway, but Two-Face started dating this young girl. Some people say she was 15, some people say she was 18. Annie Dibia, right? And they were together on and off all those years, maybe she thought it was on all the way through, but Two-Face will probably say more accurately, like on and off, right? Up to the beginning of this year. In January, around January, February this year. So I'm talking about as far back as the 90s, late 90s, right? late 90s, Two Baba, the same person, Two Face, met a teenager girl, right? She was somewhere between 15 and 18. Let's just say 18. Okay, let's just say 18. All right. And but Annie used to be Annie Macaulay, would go on to continue to say that was her first love. That was her first love, right? So of course, if you look at them on the screen, they look like they always look like they have a very strong connection, but a strong connection does not always equal to healthy relationship. I think we all know that, right? So some people connect for at the at the wrong place. They connect in the wrong ports, in the most toxic ports of their brain. So it looked like they weren't supposed to be together, but you know, they were together all of those years. But somewhere between 2004 ish, 5 ish, or 2012 ish, Two Face started creating babies with other women. One of them being a lady called Sumbo. There's another lady called Pero. So now, as of to date, right now, Two Face has 3 children with Pero. I think 2 children with Sumbo and 1 child. Well, at that time, 1 child with Annie Macaulay, but I think they had, after they got married, they have another child together. So how many children so far, right? 3 plus 2 plus 2. I can count more formula more. We don't do that in Yoruba land. So let's just pretend we don't know math, but it sounds like it's about 7-ish already. Okay. So he created a bunch of baby mothers and babies between 2004 and 2012. In 2012, he finally decided that Annie was the love of his life. Okay. Finally, he decided that Annie used to be Macaulay. Annie Dibia ni Macaulay. Well, I think she went back to Macaulay, right? Was the love of his life, and he decided to propose, and they did a lavish wedding in Dubai at the time. Okay. So 2013, 2013, they had the wedding, 2013. All right. So, and then, before you know it, in 2015, there's a viral photo that shows Two Baba planting a passionate kiss on one of the previous baby mothers, Baro, right? And of course, that went viral, right? And at that time, Annie Dibia defended her marriage. That's her first love. You can't judge her, right? That's her first love. So she defended her marriage, and she claimed at the time that Baro poses no threat, and it didn't matter, to her. At least that was the front that she gave everybody at the time. But in September 2021, Annie publicly finally called out Two Baba on social media for allegedly spending nights with Baro. It was a big outburst. If you remember that there was an audio, there's some kind of audios. I'm not going to play any of that. I'm just kind of bringing us up to speed how we got here. Okay, this is all because of one man, Two Face, Two Baba, right? And at that time, Annie claimed that Two Face lied to her and the children that he was going for a shoot in the US, only to go and spend nights at Baro's house. Now, Baro is a baby mother of 3 to Two Face, right? So, I mean, all of us can agree that that's a breach of trust if that actually happened. But why would she come out and cry in public? But the thing is that people had a hard time believing her, because at one time she was defending him, the other time, but what we can say here, that all of this is a bunch of public nonsense that's going on with that. And once you invite the attention of the general public into your life, all bets are off, especially if your livelihood is attached to what the public think, the comment section, all those kind of things. If you're attached to that, it will affect you no matter how strong you think you are, and this is probably why people will bottle things up until one day to blow out of proportion, right? And that's what happened in 2021. Shout out to Toby and Tribe. Toby and Tribe said he must really be a gentle guy, because another guy would have beaten her back. Okay. Good evening to Abby. Good to see you, Abby. Welcome, Abby. You guys help me share. Thank you. Help me share. Okay. YouTube is not showing our platform love at this moment, so I don't know why. It doesn't matter. it matters, but we have to. The show must go on, okay? But I'm appreciative that you guys are here, okay? Just know this and know peace. Speaking of peace, someone said this guy said this new girl Natasha is his peace. So he's gone through 3 ladies, Sumbo, right? But and of course Annie Dibia, his wife for since 2012 all the way till this year. How many years is that? 13 years. None of those people were his peace except this new lady. This new lady, who is a honorable Natasha. You know, we're going to talk about her, but first and first, 2022. Okay, you know, after they went on a show, they were on this show. It's called the Young, Famous, and African. Is it Young, Famous, or African, or Rich, Famous, and African? One of the two. It's a Netflix show, and Annie Dibia is one of the cast stars on that show. It's a South African thingy that's on Netflix that we all watched, and I think this was the beginning of the end for Annie and Two-Face, because for the longest, they were able to keep things under wrap. Two-Face, the gentle guy, and then Annie is a lot of people have leaked rumors saying she's kind of crazy behind the scenes, but most of us think, oh, she's just crazy in love with Innocent. Yes, Innocent Idibia is Two-Face's real name. So some people will say, oh, you know, she's crazy. Some people will say she's crazy in love, right? So, and they showcased some of that on that show on Netflix. So you can still watch it. It's a series on Netflix, you know. But the most recent season of that show came out, and Annie was not looking too great. She looked like she's struggling with Igbo. Then Two-Face too had some other sceneries or some pictures where it looked like he's also struggling with Igbo. It looks like it. We don't know, okay? But we also know that industry is known for things like that. They kind of cope with that kind of stuff. So, but in the midst of all of that, they renewed their 10th anniversary vows in 2022. And I guess we can all consider some kind of attempt at public attempt at growth and repair. And maybe because, you know, that mark, everybody's afraid when they get to that mark, 9 year, 10 year, they say, if we make it past this year, if we make it past this year, this 10th year, it marks, then everybody can say we'll be married for a decade, right? And then you'll have that small accolade, like you'll be married for a decade. But emotions no be your mates. Anyway, the final collapse and the new chapter, Honorable Natasha. Okay, how did I do? I did that in about 13 minutes or so. Honorable Natasha came into the scene. I don't know if it was before or after. Some of you might know the truth better than me. But the climax of the drama between Two-Face and his ex-wife now, or ex-wife to be, because what we're hearing is that they're still married. And not only that, Natasha is still married to somebody else, allegedly, because she had a child for somebody. Did you guys hear that? Nobody told me that yesterday. You guys are not helping me here. Apparently, she's still married. Okay, allegedly, not apparently, allegedly. She's still married to somebody else in the midst. Now she just had a baby, confirmed. She just had a baby girl for Two-Face, making the 8th child. Okay, the 8th child for Two-Face. All this while, the way all of you guys talk about Two-Face having children, I thought he had like maybe 15 or 17 or 20. 8 is not a lot. 3 baby mothers, that's I guess it's a lot, but not really, you know. But you know, Nigerian people, we make everything dramatic. But Two-Face is a dramatic man. I think we can all agree that he's a dramatic person. So anyway, immediately as soon as Two-Face came out back in either January or February, came out to announce that he's no longer married, and they have been going through divorce with his wife, his only wife ever before Natasha. I don't know what's going on with Natasha's situation, but Annie Dibia, okay. And immediately there was some other news sources that say Annie Dibia is going to rehab. And then at that time we covered it here too, and I was really hoping that she can go and find help and, you know, get herself together, maybe do something similar to the Mary Yuel Edochie's kind of story, where you have like a strong comeback and everybody drag your retarded husband. But she's trying her best from what I've seen. Anita is trying her best. But what they've gone through, both of them, there's no way you come out of that without being badly battered emotionally. Okay. The ups and downs, the public scrutiny, the public microscope all over their relationship, and then all the ex-baby mothers, and then the industry itself, then it's seemingly someone like Two-Face. It doesn't seem like a very stable, responsible man. It can be, you can have those two. You can be humble and be very responsible. Okay. So you can also be humble and be very prideful. I don't know if you guys comprehend what I just said. You can be humble and be very prideful. The type of pride that can absolutely destroy your life and your relationships. Never mind the marriage. The marriage, that one, leave that one alone. Okay. I'm talking about the type of humility that can actually destroy your life and your relationships. That's what I'm talking about. Please help me hit the like button. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. I'm going to take a small break as you hit the like button. I will be, let me take a small break, guys. Let me take a small breather and a sip, and I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife, Lola, and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. All right, welcome back. So we're talking about Tu Baba and Natasha, the emotional flaw that ruined his prestige. I'm not talking about his relationship. Their relationship is an extension of your prestige. Your marriage is an extension of the underlying relationship. If any one of those things are faulty, forget. Nothing else is going to happen. If you have it, it's going to crumble anyway. So we're talking about Tu Baba. All right. Toby and Tribe says, do you think Two-Face can remain faithful to Natasha only? I don't know. As I've always said, I think the faithful thing is actually the least of many people's problem. Someone being faithful is a function of many other underlying issues. If someone is content, there's no need to question faithfulness, right? Because all they want to do is be around you, right? That's all they want to do. They want to be around you. So contentment. Now, what are they content in, right? Is that the right word? I'm not sure, but Itelon, right? What are they? Is it toxic? Are they just comfortable? Because some people can be content and be smoking their brains out inside of a safe house somewhere, and they might destroy themselves inside the place. They are faithful to that vice, right? So faithfulness is a function of other things. Most of us focus on faithfulness and cheating and all this kind of stuff. But wouldn't you rather he cheat on his bad behaviors, right? So, but in this case, I know the context. You're talking about cheating on a person, right? But they might have something toxic going on, some kind of toxic bond going on, at least from the outside looking in. That's what it looks like. Can he be faithful for that? Yes. Yes, he can be faithful to that. Can he destroy him? Yes. Right? But was it a situation where if you go back to the Bimbo and what's the Blessing CEO's boyfriend, what's his name? IVD. If you go back to that story, they had a toxic situation going on, right? If you look at Blessing CEO and this guy right now, you see what the guy was professing to Blessing CEO, his faithfulness to Blessing CEO, right? But from the outside looking in, it doesn't look good to us because we know his history, right? So we're kind of like reflecting off of that very recent history on this guy, right? But can they be faithful? Yes, people will stay in a very faithful, toxic relationship. It happens all the time if they are enjoying the funk together. But if one person is not allowing the other person, or somebody is trying to grow past that bad place, right? Then it looks like unfaithfulness because it's a betrayal. See how that kind of got twisted? Exactly. So I think faithfulness is probably the last thing that we should be looking for from Two-Face. I believe that could be a reason for the beings. Maybe. Anyway, so January 26, 2025, as I was saying earlier on, Baba publicly announces on Instagram that he and Annie have been separated for some time and have filed for divorce. All right. The post eventually got deleted. He came back on and said, no, Nami say okay, remember that? Nami. At that time, we started to see some other side of Two-Face that the public had never seen before. The public had always seen the humble part of Two-Face, and they gave him a lot of pass when it comes to. They will make fun of him in the comedy shows. He's impregnating. Who is pregnant for who? Oh, another person is pregnant for Two-Face. They made a lot of jokes around that, right? But people always respected and loved him for quote unquote humility. Now, I'm not going to take that away from him. There are many, when it comes to the dynamics of marriage and the public, or even the relationship, you often find yourself in a situation where you want to tell the world that people should help you talk to this person because of the way they treat you privately. But the whole world, like they tell you, like, no, that's got to be a lie. This guy that we know is always a gentle guy. You tell his best friends, they don't believe what you're talking about because they don't see that part of him. Right? They're not on the receiving end of his manipulative, controlling behaviors, just as examples, right? So that's the thing. But anyway, in February 2025, literally days after, right? After the separation announcement, Baba started publicly flunking Honorable Natasha Osawaru all over the place. Who is she? A lawmaker, member of the House of Assembly, Edo State. They call him the Deputy Majority Leader in the Edo State. And speaking of Deputy Majority Leader in the Edo State, let me play this video for you guys because I don't know if this video will go anywhere, but let's just play it. That's like the most recent news about what we're talking about. So let's just play that video and I'll be back. Let's do it.
Of Assembly has summoned the member representing Ego constituency, Honorable Natasha Osawaru Iyobosa, to appear before the Ethnics and Privileges Committee within 1 week to explain why she's dragging the House into a dispute with her recent actions and misconduct that have been trending. BTV News State House respondent Osaroge Agwebo reports that the Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Blessing Agbebaku, issued the directive during Tuesday's plenary, frowning that the lawmaker has been trending negatively in the media.
Honorable Natasha should appear before the Ethics Committee, Ethics and Privileges Committee. Let us know why she's trying this house into a report.
The Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Blessing Agbebaku, said the recent actions and misconduct of the member representing Ego constituency at the Edo State House of Assembly, Honorable Natasha Osawaru, has been treading negatively on the media and dragging the House into disrepute. He stated that while the members are known to be responsible, he will not allow any member to tarnish its reputation. The Speaker summoned Honorable Natasha Osawaru to appear before the House Committee on Ethics and Privilege within 1 week to explain why she is dragging the House into the mud and to show recourse why disciplinary action should not be taken against her.
This precious house with cerebral members and highly educated members have been dragged in the mud for too long by our colleague, Honorable.
All right, so as you can see, Honorable Natasha has been summoned by the Edo State Assembly. According to this report here on Leader AKG blog, it says Honorable Natasha represents Ego constituency in the Edo Assembly was accused of dragging the House into disrepute following online reports, blah, blah, blah. Again, for me, I know you guys could hear it. I know you guys have confirmed that's really hard, but I couldn't see very well in terms of the altercation that happened yesterday on Daddy Freeze's platform. But what I really saw clearly is a man who was operating from a place of what we call what do we call it? In the anti-seducers, we call it the reactor, right? A man who allowed himself, maybe because of a partner's behavior, we can call it a partner's behavior, right? Because we don't see what was there, but basically jumped on the internet to try to attempt to control narrative, right? So we call it the reactor, or we call it the triggered, right? That's obviously somebody who lack emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence is a moving target. Okay, so you can have emotional intelligence in one thing and lack it in other things. It's not a constant. There's not this one person who always have emotional intelligence. You can kind of see patterns. You know, some people that tend to have emotional intelligence, but it's very dangerous to look at yourself and say, "Oh, I am an emotional intelligent person." What that leads to is pride, and it's a moving variable. There's always a blind spot, and if you don't stay actively listening, because obviously because of social factors, our world is changing, it's evolving. How we relate with each other as human beings is always changing. So I think it's better to stay in tune with what else is going on outside of yourself. The first step is yourself, right? Mastering your own emotions is always the first step, right? The second step is learning how to master other people's emotion, how they feel. Essentially, we're probably talking about empathy, right? The third thing is social intelligence. Just knowing that you don't live in a cave. You don't get to say to me, oh, you know how we like to say to me, oh, this thing to me. Yeah, pocket that, put it back in your pocket. Because in real life, you're dealing with other human beings, regardless if you've chosen to marry or not. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. And it doesn't tamper with your ideologies, your personal ideologies. Maybe you have personal core values and morals, right? A code of conduct that you live by. But at the end of the day, those are also a function of how you were raised, right? And if you're not paying attention to how that has an impact on your experiences and the experiences of people around you today, you already know, very likely you must to collect.
Sorry.
All right, so I just wanted to point that that's emotional intelligence. So now that you know what emotional intelligence is, how has Two-Face, Baba, how has it fallen? How did he fall so far from the top to where he's at right now, where he's being dragged like Yoel Edochie in the internet streams? How did he find himself in a place where he felt the need to jump on a live stream with 3,000 people to tell people to their face, fuck you, his own manager? How did he get that space? Is not a place of strength. Can we all agree to that? That's not, can we agree at least that that's not the person coming from a place of strength? Hello, babes wins. Can we agree? If you agree that that is a person coming from a place of weakness, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that no, he must put his foot down and show that caca of a guy, put a 2 in the chat. Right? So when a man finds himself in that kind of, because crises happen in all of our lives. Sometimes, you know that position. I know, like in the last 7 days, you've had that situation where you said somebody is talking bad about you. They're talking bad about you, but you know that they're talking bad about you to other people. They're messing up your reputation. But regardless of your gender or what side you fall in, if you have small wisdom in your head, you don't go just react to that and jump there and start crossing everybody out, right? Well, to whom much is given, much is expected. If you are a Two-Face, that name is a very funny name. If you're called Two-Face, I don't know what we should expect from you, but Two-Face, our legend Two-Face, not literally Two-Face. Okay, Two-Face, right? If you're a Two-Face, you have enjoyed the benefit of people celebrating you all around the world, right? Now, that comes with a lot of responsibility, meaning you might have 3,000 people gather and start talking shit about you as far as you're concerned, for no reason. You are just living your life. It's none of their business, right? But you are responsible. Well, you better be responsible, right? To whom much is given, much, because the same way they celebrate you, as 3,000 people are talking, quote unquote, negative about you, there's probably 3,000 people streaming your songs as we speak, celebrating you. Well, at least remember that Two-Face is a legend, right? In the midst of all of this. But you know what your mind will naturally gravitate towards, right? It will gravitate towards people are talking negative about you. That's what you will remember. Your mind will highlight the negatives in efforts to try to defend itself. What do I mean by defend itself?
You go explain, because no evidence.
You go explain. Tired. So what did he do? He jumped in the boat and said, what happens when you do that? What do you think is going to happen? Well, in hindsight, we know, right? Everybody's going to take a screenshot and spread it all over the world. Yeah, your worst moment, your weakest moment. Everybody is going to take a screenshot and spread it all around the world. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Watch it. Watch for yourself.
Official Baba has joined. Handle that you need to type.
Yo, Kaka, you need to shut the fuck up. You need to just shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up, man. You need to shut the fuck up.
Dad free. Innocent. They should see us together.
I'm hearing that for the first time. My wife pointed it out to me, but I didn't hear it. I'm hearing that for the first time. You could hear someone, a lady in the background, said they should show us together or something like that. Something to that effect, right? But you know what? In the real world, it doesn't matter. The person we know, that we truly know, that we're fighting for in all of this is Tubaba. Is the one with the main responsibility here. God forbid this is a spiritual attack of some sort of situation. I'll leave that to the prophets to worry about. But there are many men that have not been spiritually attacked that act this way. They put themselves in a position where they have to overreact, where they have to defend, where they have to do shalaye, explain.
You go explain, because no evidence.
Yeah, your child may be present, your child made me do it. It's not a good excuse. Oh, I didn't know. No. Ignorance is not it's not an excuse. In the real world, it's not. A lot of things could have been damaged. So you can't afford to wait until today, which is like a day later when we are reacting to this. You have to see this kind of outcome. You have to see it ahead of happening. So what does that mean? Part of emotional intelligence. You don't jump ahead of narratives and try to control it. You at least take the time, understand that heavens is not going to fall out of the skies, no matter what it feels like, because it's truly going to feel that way. It's going to feel like the whole world is attacking you. It's going to be super difficult to not jump ahead of it and try to control the narrative. This is true for all of us. It's still difficult for me today. I'm a little bit more inclined because I talk about this all the time. But for an average person, it is difficult to see people talking smack about you and not want to fix it. You're wrong. No, let me fix you. Even in simple conversation, you want to interject and stop them because it feels in that moment that they're going to mess up your reputation. Honestly, there's no one single event that can mess up anybody's reputation. In fact, what we're talking about right now, if Two-Face wants right now, he can build everything back all to the top if he wants. But you know, one thing will not allow him to. Most likely, almost unlikely, he will listen. One thing, pride. Pride is a bastard. Okay, I'm sorry. It is what it is. Okay, it's a double-edged sword. Every one of us should have some level of pride, but it gets to a point you will self-destruct with it. Okay, remember there are two things: pride and expectation. Mismanaged pride and expectation. What is your expectations? What are your expectations of the public when you are a Two-Face? What are your expectations of your wife when you are a husband? What are your expectations as a parent when you of your children when you are a parent? What are your expectations as a Ned if you are married to a Regina? These are the questions that I have. So to be fair, if I want to play fairness today, I'll say, but you heard Natasha in the background. You heard her now. That girl is causing troubles. That girl is manipulating that guy behind the scenes.
You're right.
You're right. But the outcome of their behaviors, they're not fair. They don't show up as equal or equality, whatever that is. Somebody will collect the most in this situation.
Sorry.
I'm telling you, that's the reality. That's Two-Face. You saw Two-Face conduct just now. That wasn't the end of it. Watch this.
So they do now. So they do.
Oh, they said they should see us. She said they should see us together. This woman seems very controlling, especially with his social media and finances. It is well. I think that's what Nato is talking about. Yes, I'm hearing that for the first time. They should see us together.
What does that do?
So you can see there's a tussle going back and forth. They're tussling back and forth there. You never want to find yourself in that position. Ever. There's no excuse for it. Right? Let it go. What is it? The phone? Let it go. It's easier said than done. You might be hiding something in the phone. Oh, I don't know. But let it go. Okay? Because anything, see that kind of tussle you're looking at right there? Many people have gone and never came back ever again. It looks small, but this is how it starts.
What is your problem?
Daddy Freeze. You don't see him.
I did something. I did one report. What happened?
Daddy Freeze, you don't see him.
Guys, calm down. Let's.
They should see us together is our only concern. The general public will pick it up. The public, they don't lie. You don't listen. The way I say that sometimes, I say, men don't listen, women don't lie, right? I say that like that too, but it's a figurative thing, right? If you're complaining, you're not listening. Obviously, you're spending most of your time complaining. You're not listening. If you listen, you might just gather some ammunitions to help you fix your relationship. You know, and if you either way, you're in control. You're probably going to destroy if you don't listen. But people around you don't lie, is the point. They're telling you who they are. So I can't sit here and say, she's just as guilty. I'm not measuring who is more guilty than the other. Two-Face is the reason why we're talking about this. He has a lot more to protect. And he shouldn't have put himself in a position where he felt the need to have to defend himself in this manner against the public. Long term, you saw his behavior, his conduct. So let me divide it into three phases, okay? His behavior from long term is always shown up as far as what we can see, because we don't know him like that, as an irresponsible guy, okay? When it comes to his pekus, his prick, right? It's always shown up to be that guy, right? By, sleeping with multiple people at the same time, having multiple wives at the same time. As a matter of fact, there's this, the girl in the middle that I really never covered her story here before. I don't know how old she is, but her name is Sumbo, right? Sumbo made a post. Sumbo is now a pastor, from what I saw in recent times. She's now Sumbo Adeoye, married to a pastor, and they run a church, some church called Royalty Something Assembly, right? And she did an interview. She did an interview that ended up being posted on. Let me see if I can find it. All right, so this is Sumbo's page now today. She's Ade Sumbo Adeoye, author, transformational leader. She has 2 children for Two-Face, right? Passionate about the development of women and girls. There's lessons all over this stuff, okay? There's so many lessons. But there's something I wanted to point out to you young ladies right now today. If you lie to yourself, it will haunt you, just so you know, okay? That's why self-awareness is key. You need to be able to detect when you lie to yourself. So we do tell ourselves lies. We tell ourselves lies from a place of pride. We don't want the world to see a certain part of us. So we lie to ourselves. And if you're not careful enough, you will actually believe the lies. So in other words, you'll be able to justify the lie. But eventually, the truth always catch up. But usually the damages are done at that point in time. But from what I read about this young lady, I'm very happy to read this because she actually put her life back together after our experience with Two-Face. Okay, so according to an article published on June 29 on June 29, 2023. Okay, hold on one second, guys. I'm just going to read this to you. June 29, 2023. It says, why I had a second child for Tubaba Sumbo Adeoye. All right, so I'm going to leave this part of the story. This Instablog Niger published this about 482 weeks ago. Okay, this is I'll just share this one with you guys. There you go. This one. This is Sumbo right here. Okay, so it says, my first marriage crumbled because my first child looked like Two-Face and not my husband. Sumbo Ajaba Adeoye, the mother of Two-Face children, made this revelation in a recent interview with Sunday Scoop. While explaining how she ended up having 2 children for the ace musician, she said, that happened because we were in a relationship. I met Two-Face when I was a student of Yaba College of Technology. I had just lost my dad, and my mom was living in America. For someone who was a daddy's girl, I needed love. This was the only person that was showing me love at that time. I feel I had that experience so that other young girls would not make the same mistake. I was 24 when I fell pregnant the first time. I thought it was Linda Ekej that ever fell pregnant only before. Anyway, she fell pregnant at 24. I approached the pastor of the church I was attending then, and he brought me out before the church and judged me. I was asked to go and bring the father of my unborn child so we could be joined together. I brought a different person. I brought a different person, and we got married at the registry. She's pregnant for Two-Face. She brought a different person. Everything fell apart when I had a child who looked nothing like him, and my mom came back from America to ask who gave my hand out in marriage because she was not a part of it. I had to walk out of the marriage, which I arranged by myself. She eloped to cover up a marriage. I moved back home, and by age 25, I was already a single mom and a divorcee. There was so much shame and reproach. She's a divorcee to some other man, not Two-Face. Okay, this is how your life can get entangled up by one mistake. By one mistake. All of us have made mistakes before, grave mistakes that could have turned out. That's why you don't judge, because she just happened to be unlucky, right? But she's lucky today. Anyway, it got to a point in my life that I felt that the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. So I went back to my baby daddy, and his mom talked me into living with him so he won't have more women and babies. How does that work? We lived together for 3 years, and that was how the second pregnancy happened. It was not a bed of roses while I was there, because I was trying to put together what was not supposed to be. I think we broke up in 2009 after I had a second baby. There were other women who were also going to have babies for him around that time. I came to my senses like the prodigal son, and I was so broken. I think my baby daddy was out of the country that fateful day when I returned from work, and I packed all my things plus that of my children, and I went back to my parents' home, cat walking. All right, so that's that one. The one on The Nation says why I had a second child. I think we kind of got the gist. She moved back there, and she had a second child, but she was trying to patch a marriage together. All right, so why am I sharing that with you? If you don't know Two-Face and you look at that story is a Nollywood series by itself. Okay, everything you know about Two-Face right now today, Two-Face obviously has a Nollywood/Hollywood series by itself. The point I'm trying to extract from that is this: avoid all the right and wrong talking points. So who's at fault? Who is to blame? It doesn't matter. You don't learn anything from that. Look at yourself and be responsible. I said that yesterday. I'm going to repeat it today. Look at yourself and take some responsibility for how you ended up in your situation. Not some. Your power is in taking all the responsibility. Okay, I'm not talking about criminal behavior. I'm talking about all this emotionally based relationship or relational skills. take full responsibility for it. Okay? The reality is that first, Two-Face was a very irresponsible person. You start mingling with that person, it looks exciting. But let's never mind. Short, like mid-term, earlier this year, the way he came out and announced that he's breaking up with his wife, if you look at that, if you didn't know it was Two-Face, that's obviously a very unwise way, right? To announce such announcement, and then days later, you start flunking around with somebody who clearly has no manners, from what I could see. You want me to sit around a whole live stream and be talking about Natasha and how much she doesn't have manners? We don't learn anything from that. We don't learn anything from that. I would rather have a long-term situation where we can point out, okay, long time ago, this guy is always showing who he was. Just last year, here, with his humble self, he announced to the world in the most irresponsible way that he's breaking up with his wife. A few days later, he started flunking somebody who clearly had no manners. Yes, I said that one. Okay? What do you want me to do? Start judging Natasha? No, I don't have to. Edo State Assembly will do that work for us. Okay? But I want you to pay attention to this. But if you ladies want to take lessons away from this, you see that girl that was telling herself lies, Sumbo, and then she finally woke up. And now today, she's running. This is her page right here. You know, I think it's a success story. Okay, I think it's a success story. She's now an author. Okay, in the midst of all of this Two-Face chaos. Anyway, that's that. So let me see if I can let me see something here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me pay some bills. We got some more to talk about. Let's pay some bills. Okay, I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to all 41 of you watching this live. Help me hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. So I might have a guest that might come in a minute. So as soon as it comes in, we'll definitely bring him on board. But for now, we're continuing to this story. Remember, we're talking about the emotional flaw that ruined his prestige. The same way it was not too late for Sumbo, it is not too late for Two-Face. The only thing that makes it too late is the end of life. Okay, people forgive and forget quickly, especially Nigerians. Okay, it's not that deep for us. Okay, we will forgive, we'll forget if you fix yourself. Okay, if you do another boo-boo in 2 weeks, we'll remind you of all the boo-boo you've done before that. That's just the way it works, especially if you're a public figure. Guess what? In relationships, the same thing is true. Okay, same thing is true. So now let me go back to the beginning a little bit. Okay, we're talking about relational chaos here, not just marriage. Marriage, everything that happens in marriage is a function of the underlying relationship. Okay, everything that happens in marriage is a function of the underlying relationships. So it doesn't really, working on a marriage is like, it doesn't really, it's an institution. It has its rules, it has its principles. And if you look across the board, if you don't tell yourself stupid stuff like there's no manual for marriage, then you'll be fine, because you will look for answers even when it looks confusing. There's no aspect of life where we do that we value so much that we don't end up sometimes in a space that it looks confusing. So it's not just about marriage, it's about a person's life. So we're talking about a grown man, 50-year-old man's life at this point. That's what we're talking about. But that grown man did not fall out of the sky. He's coming from a place. I mean, we've seen a pattern here. Just irresponsible, humble, but prideful and irresponsible. How do I know that he's prideful? I mean, look at the way he jumped on the screen. At first, when they deleted the first message from earlier on this year, when he announced the divorce with Annie, right? He came back. You could see that. What's wrong with your shoulder? Two-Face. That's not who you are. Why you say I said it? Yes, whatever he said at that time, right? Like he's trying to prove a point to us. We don't care. I mean, on Prestige Family, we care about the lessons. but we really don't. It's not that deep.
Don't care, don't care, don't care, still don't care. I don't care, I don't. I don't care.
If you have to care at all, maybe about the children. Somebody said, I think my wife was telling me that one of the children came out and said something. Somebody was saying, "Oh, maybe he's a good father. He's just a terrible husband."
Are you stupid? Are you a crazy person? You not mad? You know me before? Who be this one? Who the f*** are you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have my guest here. I'm gonna play this just to pay some bills, and we'll be right back. Okay. This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books: Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. What's going on, Mac?
What's up, man? My lighting is terrible, and
you're trying to move it around?
I can barely hear you, so let me try to get on my headphones. Give me 1 second.
All right, do that. All right, everybody. He's going to get on his headphone, and then we'll take you from there. All right, so let's see here. Everybody, just help me hit the like button. Let's ping some more people into the room. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Are you back? That was quick. I can't hear you yet. You can hear me, right? Okay, but I can't hear you yet. Let's see if we can fix that. Not yet. I can't hear you yet. All right. As it fixes that, let's hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like button. Let's ping some more people into the room. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Let's see. All right. So this is my family. This is my friend. This is my brother. Can you hear me yet? No, not yet. I could hear you earlier though.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, my microphone was on mute.
All right, you're good now. All right, cool. Yeah, I think I muted it earlier. Sorry about that. All right.
Okay, no worries.
Welcome, man. What's going on? How have you been?
I'm hanging in there, man. One day at a time, surviving Trump. Surviving Trump, you know what I mean? Making it. I appreciate you for having me on, my friend, my brother.
Well, wait. Let me do the proper introduction. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Man of Prestige. As you know, my name is Ola. So, to make our conversations today a little bit more colorful, I've invited my friend, my brother, my family. She's husband to my friend, my family, my sister, Bola. It's his second time here, actually. It's either second or third time here on Man of Prestige.
Might be a third, I think.
It might be a third. Yes. So definitely, this is Mark Ordina. Everybody, please welcome Mark Ordina. So, you wanted to say something before I dive in?
Oh, no. I was just, thanking you for having me on. It's always an honor to know that my thoughts are interesting, I guess, enough for them to be considered. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I always find your conversations with you, anything you produce, I always find them interesting. I've been meaning to come and hunt you down in your chats, like what's going on with what was it, 6,000, the platform you were building like a year ago.
11 kilometers per second.
11 kilometers per second. I can't remember, right? I've been trying to hunt you down.
Some number. It was some number.
Some kind of number, So, but I know your heart is probably there. I know you've been busy with college, kids going to college. I came to pick your brain not too long ago because your kids are in college, my kids going to college, and all that kind of stuff. So I value you, my friend. Thanks for being here today. And we're definitely going to have
I
this
appreciate you.
conversation. Yeah. So you wrote this article and you sent it to me, and I read it. I'm like, wow, this is very timely, And the title says The Feminist Movement and the Mistake We Didn't See Coming. So the first thing I want to do is I want to read it so that our audience can follow along with us.
Okay.
And then after that, I will read a quick summary of the story we're covering today, which is about Two-Face. Are you familiar with Two-Face, Baba?
I am. I'm definitely familiar with Two-Face, but I haven't been following. I don't know what he did recently.
I'll bring you up to speed. No worries.
All right.
Yeah. So the feminist movement and the mistake we didn't see coming was the title of Matt's article. It says over the past couple of decades, the feminist movement. Let me post it in the chat for everybody to be able to see. Actually, if they want to read it, just make sure you stay on the show, guys. Okay. All right. So the feminist movement aimed at righting the injustices placed on women by a patriarchal society failed to realize the injustices that the patriarchy inflicted on the men that had to carry it. So everyone focused on the empowerment of women, and for good reason. They spoke about how women should take up room and lean in, and how they should present more powerfully and to enter areas like sport that were traditionally the realm of men. Now, the shift that left boys behind. The result of giving women access, combined with the world increasingly fueled by service rather than manual labor, meant that the natural strength of women allowed women to leapfrog the performance of men. That's a powerful statement. Because men, who till that point possessed sole dominion over those areas, were presumed to already be equipped to succeed in these realms. We forgot to teach men the skills necessary to function and excel in this new world. Girls' brain develop faster than boys. They can sit still longer in classrooms and thrive in environments built around communication and relationship. Men were not taught to develop relational skills or be given the permission to fail and be vulnerable. Vulnerability isn't weakness. Now, let me make a distinction between being vulnerable and being weak or emotional. Being vulnerable requires that you are aware of one's feeling of one's feelings and be willing to expose oneself to possible harm from that exposure. People treat vulnerability like a weakness, but it's actually the opposite. Only the strong can afford to be vulnerable. That's powerful. Something or someone who is strong can withstand a blow. Even if he suffers damage, he will not be broken. A weak person stays guarded because even a light hit can shatter him. Think about it. When you're strong in your opinion, you confidently put it out, not because it won't be attacked, but because you feel confident in your ability to defend it. The price of being vulnerable is the possibility of being hurt. But being vulnerable is a sign of strength, and the fear of an attack is a sign of weakness. The real difference between strength, weakness, and emotion. Being weak is easy to explain. It is just not doing the thing that is difficult. Thinking of strength from a physical perspective, the physically strong can lift heavy objects. Anyone can pick up a small pebble, but most can't lift up boulders. Conceptual strength is the same way. It is the ability to do things that most find difficult to do. So if you're vulnerable because of a challenge you're facing, being strong is confronting that challenge and taking the necessary steps, the necessary difficult steps to overcome that challenge. Being emotional is reacting in an unproductive way towards something that you feel. It applies to both men and women. Anger, yelling, shutting down, or withdrawing is just as emotional as crying. Emotional doesn't mean feminine. It means losing control of the moment. The goal for men is not to stop feeling, but to articulate those feelings and respond productively. Men need relational skills. In any case, men do in fact need to be taught relational skills. Men do need to be taught how to attract and speak to women like the pickup artists community attempts. Like the pickup artist community attempts. I have many issues with the pickup artist community, both because of the intention behind their teachings and because of some of the tactics, but that is for another discussion. Men should have the freedom to express their feelings and to settle disputes with words, and that needs to be seen as masculine. This doesn't mean that they should not have the capacity for violence. It just means that violence should be a last resort and used against the unreasonable. Why this matters for women? We are already seeing the consequences in dating and relationships. Women are increasingly reporting that they cannot find men their age who are mature, emotionally capable, or professionally stable enough to date. Women are dating older because they have no peers. Men withdrawing from the challenge doesn't eliminate the burden. It transfers that burden to women. Wow, that one is powerful. Let me finish it. One last paragraph. Teaching men to thrive helps everyone. Fixing this is not just good for men. It is good for women and society as a whole. When men are coached, challenged, and given the skill set to thrive in this modern world, communication, emotional literacy, ambition, maturity, everyone benefits. We don't get hopeless men. We don't get angry men. We don't get politically radicalized men. We get partners, husbands, fathers, and leaders who are capable of building healthy families and communities. Now, I have to confess, Mac, I have to confess. I didn't finish reading it. I just read like first 2-3 paragraphs. I said, let me get him on. Because I wanted to feel what I'm feeling right now when I do finish reading it. So that is powerful, right? Mac, your background, right?
Yeah.
Your background, you are second generation Haitian, right? Correct?
Actually, first, I was born in Haiti.
You was born in Haiti. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I came here at 7.
You're looking like Wyclef over there. But but I wanna dive into this conversation, but I want to find links between this conversation and Two-Face. So I'm going to give you a quick summary of what Two-Face has done now. Like, let's put it in your words. Like, what has he done now? Right. So Two-Face came in the news yesterday, but let me just say this. The public narrative of Two-Face 2Baba is a highly publicized emotional saga defined by his struggle with commitment and managing multiple relationships during his rise to fame, which resulted in 7 out of wedlock children with 3 different women, Pero, Sumbo, and Annie. While he eventually married his longtime love, Annie Macaulay Idibia. In a high-profile 2013 wedding, the marriage was continually destabilized by persistent infidelity and public disputes, primarily involving Pero, leading to Annie's public call-out of emotional pain and shame. This pattern culminated in the recent public announcement of his divorce from Annie in early 2025, which was immediately followed by his confirmation of a new romantic relationship with Honorable Natasha Osawaru, cementing the public perception of a talented man whose emotional intelligence flaw, the inability to control his impulses and honor his commitment, ultimately led to the collapse of his most significant relationship and the severe tarnishing of his public prestige. Yesterday, there's a video that leaked of a rumor for some few weeks ago that there was an altercation in London where he was arrested, altercation between him and his new girl. And at that time, they debunked it. Yesterday, the video leaked. We actually saw him in handcuffs in London, in the middle of London, being arrested because allegedly the new girl called the police on him, and they just had a baby like 2 weeks ago, a baby girl. So it's just a bunch of drama for one man. so then they were talking about it on Daddy Freeze's platform, that Freeze is a on-air personality guy, and 3,000 people were watching, and Two-Face felt the need to control the narrative. He jumped on that live stream and started cursing out the young man, ex-manager of his that was leaking the story, saying he needs help. So emotional. So,
yes.
And I find a strong link between your article and this story we're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
Now, we're the same age. I think you're like months older than me or something like that.
Yep. I am your senior, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. You're closer to 50. Congratulations. All right. So now, we always talked about, anytime we gather together as a family, we always talk about this kind of stuff. But what jumped on you? What kind of spirit entered you to create this article? How did it come about?
Alrighty. So there is an article that I posted before this. Actually, it's much longer. So I post on Medium. So I suspect you were reading it on Medium, and it tells you how long the read is. So that one that you just read is supposed to be 4 minutes long. The other one is 3 times as long. It's 12 minutes. No, 4 times as long. 16 minutes long if you read it. And ultimately, I used to do 11 kilometers per second, and what that stemmed from is, my understanding of myself as I grew up as a man. There are many different things that I did not understand, and it explains that to both in 11 kilometers per second, but also in the previous article about how ultimately, as I grew up in this country, and probably all over the world, but I only have my own experiences here, is that, I equated fear with like physical threat. And so for me, like, I didn't realize that my fear of being judged by others, my fear of failing, all of that stuff was actual fear. And, it wasn't until much later when I was like struggling with what I felt like was my potential, but not being able to meet it, like much later in my life, that I was later realized it was out of fear. It actually happened because of a situation with Bola. I explained this in the previous article, like I said, where she had determined she was going to leave. And so, she started to take the actions and steps that she needed to do to, secure herself. And so she too was scared, but she started to do what was necessary because she felt like she was going to be alone. And that was when I realized, oh, this is fear. I'm scared. And so that kind of led me through this journey of like realizing all the different things that were happening. And so I wrote that article. I wrote about multiple things that we have as fallacies to what we think masculinity is, or what strength in masculinity is, like the people that we look at as Trump, Musk, and all these other things. And we think that what they're doing, the side effects ultimately are the real factors in their success. And it's actually the opposite way. So I tried to distinguish the two. And when I put that out, my cousin, responded. He said, like you did, this was, timely, all that good stuff. And then we talked about vulnerability. And then that's when I responded to him, essentially a shorter version of what I eventually went back to write, because I was like, okay, this is something that people need to understand. There's a difference between being vulnerable and being weak, because, the assumption on the other side, and this is part of what I was doing in the first article too, is like basically dispelling, disabusing people of the assumptions that are being made, like the false causes of what's happening in masculinity. So on the other side, those who are not on a manosphere, a lot of them would argue that you need to be more sensitive and soft and all these other things. And I was like, well, I needed to explain that there's a difference between that. I'm arguing for vulnerability. I'm not arguing that we should like all be, soft, crying men. Like there's a difference. So I needed to, make sure that I explain the difference between those two things. So that's where that's from.
I think I've been trying to say what you really said very well in that article for a long time. I always felt this there's this pushback coming whenever women say, women, what's wrong with men crying? It's like, what do you want the man to cry? What do you benefit from that? You know, but I wasn't pushing against vulnerability because I do think that vulnerability is a necessary ingredient in a healthy relationship. But I also don't want to just like once they start talking about it, all they want to talk about is crying. Like, no, vulnerability and crying are two different things. And the fact that you don't see a man cry does not equals to lack of vulnerability. So it becomes another problem. How do you recognize vulnerability? A lot of the women nowadays don't know how to recognize vulnerability. And when a man is being vulnerable, they don't know what to do with it. He might get called weak fast because there's usually an interrelational issue there, right? So if me and my wife were talking and then I quote unquote want to get vulnerable, and then all I'm doing is shaming and blaming her, right? It gets confusing too, right? So that's why I really gravitated towards the content of this article in that manner. Now, I've known you for I don't know 21 years, basically all of the life of our marriage, I guess, something like that.
I met. I'm 46 now. I met Bola when I was 19, and you probably met me when I was 20, probably a year later.
That's a long time, bro. That's a long time. You see why I call you my brother now, right?
Indeed, it's the truth.
So now in all of that time, you haven't always known this stuff. There's and you're still knowing, I'm guessing. There's growth. There's a significant level of growth that comes. Why do you think that men struggle? Because I mean, one angle, I'll probably answer my question by saying they need to be taught from the beginning, right? But you weren't taught this kind of stuff from the beginning. You were raised by let me call it honorary Nigerian parents, right? They were like Nigerian parents, right? Your parents, right? So how did you, because when I talk to some of my brothers, I'm trying to get them to understand this stuff. Like, for example, earlier today, somebody actually said, well, trauma and all this kind of stuff is over whipped, which I kind of agree to understand, like over whipped words. And I don't necessarily think that Two-Face is going through a trauma or stuff like that, right? But when you and I hear trauma, we actually lean in, not necessarily discount it or discredit it. We lean in to ask, what do you mean by trauma? At least we're not going to assume it's trauma, but some of our brothers, traditionalists and all this kind of, they just dismiss it when they hear it. They don't want to hear it, as opposed to trying to. Why do you think that we African men, black men, struggle with that? Because I know black men here that also struggle with that.
Black, I mean, okay. So first and foremost, I think it is it's a universal problem, men and women, in terms of understand. Like, I think we can. Like, I'm not just learning; we are continuing to learn, and it's not because this stuff hasn't been said before. Like, if you go back to readings of ancient, like, Greek philosophies, like of Stoicism and things of that nature, you would find this stuff. But the thing is, it wasn't accessible to everybody. Number one, it's also the language in which it was said wasn't necessarily even accessible either. So, like, that's why when your audience is going to be different than my audience, because the way that it resonates with your audience is going to be different than how it resonates with me. So it's a necessary thing for us to continue to teach it. And that's also the beauty of the human experience, is that, I can tell you something and it just goes in one ear and out the other, because you have to go and experience it yourself. This allows, it allows for this game that we're playing in life to be renewed every time, so it doesn't get stale. So all the stories are ultimately the same. We have love stories, unrequited love, all that other stuff. But what happens is, when you experience it, all the different factors are slightly different and slightly nuanced enough that it is something that you are experiencing anew. And so that's number one. But I think particularly to our community, I think ultimately it has to do, if you go down to the base level of where it stems from, it has to do with not having enough time to be out of survival mode, to be honest with you. I think that's what it is. Like, like a lot of us are not multi-generational. Like Two-Face was probably a poor person before he grew, he became, wealthy through his music. And even if he wasn't, his surroundings are, his culture that he's grown up in are also influencing how he thinks and behaves. And they're not necessarily, wealthy either. But like with white people, wealthy people, ultimately, what they do is they have more time to be, philosophizing. I'm not constantly worried about putting food on the table and angry and all this other stuff. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to see what's the best way life should be lived. And if I'm sitting here having to struggle and put food on the table, it's more animal in nature. It's more what do you call that? The amygdala, like where, the amygdala is a lower part of your brain that essentially like it's your animal brain. It's like it reacts more than like your frontal cortex that you're using to make executive functioning decisions. And so if you're in that mode, you're not making these types of decisions that are, that use judgment. And so that I think is what it is. And then you're also learning that from the parents who were in the same situation. Like the trauma that you talk about, for example, is being inflicted on us by our parents because they were also traumatized, right? And they didn't know better.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So yeah, that I think that's the biggest reason. And then you get to the point where somebody tells it to you. And what I'm hoping is that we are going to get to the point where that information is widespread enough. And that's my aim with 11 kilometers per second, is to get to the point where we get that information out to, men my age and younger, so that we change our trajectory.
Absolutely. I'm looking, one of my brothers here said, sit still in class. That hit a chord. I think that hit a chord for me too. That was a big deal. We're not able to sit still. I mean, another example that I use for that all the time is like, I've seen this somewhere. I don't know how true it is, but if you try to put your hands in a man's eyes, right? He blinks. He can't, because his sense of protection comes on very quickly. And yet women will put their hands in their eyes all day long, right? Makeup, contacts, all that. Men do that too, but you get the gist, right? That our sense of protection is basically what we've been raised with, to protect. And if you go back to the narrative of the point you're trying to get across to us in that article, it's about how men not being able to sit still and understand things beyond the obvious stuff or the obvious threats that we have to deal with in life, right? Can you speak a little bit more to that? And I want you to speak to how women can understand this too, because like you said, nobody benefits from this disengaging from each other. Everybody should go their own way. No one benefits from that. What do you want us to understand as men, but also as women, when it comes to that part of it?
All right. So with respect to the biology of it, I actually have more. I'm going to try to release, a piece every week. And the thing is, nobody reads anymore, but I find, first of all, I used to write all the time, number one, but I also find that, I don't think of like releasing videos in the same sense, because I don't think of likes. I'm not looking for likes. So I could just, do like a journal. So I'm going to be releasing more that speaks to a lot of, that continues, on the same path. But with respect to biology, like if you look up whether or not there is free will, like just do that research, you will see how much we are controlled by our biology. All right. And so men, ultimately, boys have more testosterone. That's why their testes drop, as opposed to staying up and becoming ovaries. The testosterone is created precisely so you can go out and be more aggressive. We were not made to live in a world. Ultimately, we are evolving. The world that we lived in required protection, and it required a group of women who would procreate And so we needed to go and find these women. The testosterone makes your libido higher, so you're more sexually your drive is higher, your sexual drive is higher. So you will go out and pursue women, and then you have to protect them. That's how we were intended to be. This new modern society is different. It requires us to sit and learn. We also have, these big brains, and again, there's a theory that says the big brains were created so that we can actually be social. Like, the reason that we have these big brains is because it takes a lot of computational power in order for me to try to understand, when I see your face and all this other stuff, when I see how you might be feeling, when I hear your words, I need to be able to compute that and then be able to respond in a way that allows us to coordinate and be social amongst each other. And so that big brain also, what it did is it created the ability for us to, build these new modern worlds and, run from pain ultimately and towards pleasure. And we created all these things. And so it's that computation that we need to be able to sit and do. Now, the thing is, because we started off with the physical force, we could prevent women from joining that field. And so once they were then given access, their natural strengths were then able to be used in a world where that was more suited for what they were doing. And so that's just the nature of it. But the thing is, it's not that clearly we have a lot of smart men. The beauty about human beings that is different than other animals is that our biology is not determinative of our fate, right? There isn't no alpha. It's really like what your will. The biggest thing that is for a human being is their will. My will to go and do whatever it needs to happen.
The will,
right?
Right.
Yep. And so if we then take that into consideration, then the idea is that once we realize that there is a difference in our biologies, and you could be like, all right, well, we need to focus on whatever solution that would be required. Maybe, so for example, Scott Galloway, who talks about men, he's really good on this as well. He says perhaps what you would do is you would hold the boys back a little bit until they develop mentally, and then you put them into the school. So essentially, like, they'd be going to school a little older than the girls would be going. But there are multiple different things. The other thing, from my perspective, like, I just for me, I was like, son, you have to do well. Like, that's like, we have to figure that out. It's not necessarily the thing that'll work for everybody, but that was what I was, that was some of the things that we do as immigrant parents. Like, all the immigrant parents are basically pushing their kids through to academics. And so we know that men can do it if forced to. We just need to understand that there is a difference. Okay. So
now quick question for you. You mentioned will, right?
Yeah.
Are there other things that drives will? I agree. Will is a real thing, right? Are there other things that we should highlight that also drive will? Because sometimes I feel like the motivation, it's just not, like, for example, I feel like some people will not change or attempt to change unless they hit rock bottom, unless they, like you just said, unless they are running away from some type of painful experience. And sometimes they run from a fry pan into fire, like Two-Face, right?
Yeah.
So in efforts to run away from this problem, they run into bigger problems. Are there other things that drives will?
Yeah, that's essentially what 11 kilometers is attempting to do. Like, it is not natural. It literally is not natural for us to push for will. It's not like that's against your need for survival, because survival means expending as little energy as possible, right? And so laziness is actually the natural state. However, we also are driven by the social dynamics of needing to feel worthy. And that's what I think is driving it. Exactly. And so, that comes from comparison, right? Because if there was one person in the world that was like, who am I comparing myself to, right? And so there's no measure of whether or not I'm doing well or not. I just have to survive, right? But then when you have a social group, then now you start to compare. It's like, am I worthy? And that's what pushes you beyond your laziness. So that's why it's the thing that happens with will is more often than not, what's the word? It's serendipitous. Like it just happens, without them knowing. It is like a lot of times these people are not happy because they are running, like it's a coping mechanism. They're running away from something, some other pain, and their coping mechanism is something that we find to be productive, where it's, as opposed to like drinking alcohol or whatever the case may be. So a lot of times that's what it is. And so, but recognizing it means that there are some things that you can force yourself. You can create systems, because will is very difficult for you to just power through. You can create systems that gradually gets your baseline of what you're willing to do a little higher. And this is something that I'm going to be writing about soon too. My thinking is, if you think about the difference between a child who has involved parents and a child that whose parents are out, don't give a damn what the hell they're doing, the difference between the two of them is that parent is forcing them to create habits that raises their baseline for what work is just normal to them, right? A lot of kids who don't have that, they it's not that they couldn't do it, they don't have the habit, and so their baseline for what they can that they can endure is much lower. And so what I am proposing is, and a lot of people do this when they go through any kind of work where the boss is extremely, what's the word, demanding, and like just one of these asshole bosses that are constantly just nitpicking everything. They may hate it, but then they come out so much more sharp afterwards.
Yeah.
And so the thing with that is, you don't necessarily like, essentially what I'm saying here is, if you can find the equivalent of a parent who's forcing you to do something, or put yourself in a situation where you have given somebody else the right to force you to do something, it makes it much easier for you, because you don't have to rely on your willpower. Somebody's going to push your ass to do it.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to figure out how I can implement some kind of system where you sign away certain rights. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but like now I'm going to be able to force you to do what it is that I have to do, or you get some level of punishment.
Yeah, that's a big struggle, because for me, as a coach, I always start from, what do you want, right? Because I believe that that's the, we can drive everything from there. Even if they lie to me what they want, right? But at least I have a place to start from, and then we define some baselines from that. You said it, systems, right?
Yeah.
So systems is boring, but you get results, right?
Yeah.
And laziness is not boring. You just lie down there, or just getting excited. It's not boring. You just lie down there. But you need a well-rounded system that kind of feeds the certainty of a system, but also the variety of our very nature, which we're looking all over the place for different solutions, right? But that's a good point. Now, I want to ask you a question. What do you think?
Let me just say real quickly on the point that you just made about it being systems being boring. I think that boredom, and Alex Hormozy says this, boredom kills more. I think it's Alex Hormozy. Boredom kills more dreams than a whole bunch of other things, because the thing is, a lot of people don't realize is that what actually works is just consistency. And a lot of times it's just the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
And it's boring.
It's boring.
So, yes.
It's boring.
Yeah.
So we need to build systems to cater to that, because that's real for all of us, right? It's one of the reasons why people jump out of relationships. But speaking of relationships, because I think a lot of these issues we're dealing with, it gets highlighted instead of a relationship, maybe dating, relationship, and marriage. And it's, before, you used to have to be in the marriage for like 15 years before you find out that your marriage was basically shit, right? But now
you can't get past one date before you get ghosted, right? So
Okay.
what do you think is going on with dating today? Maybe I don't know if you can pull from this article. I don't know if your answers is in this article, but what do you think is going on with dating today? From what you've heard,
it's not in this.
You haven't been in the game for a while, so but from what you've heard,
Yeah, but it's something that I'm actually very interested in. So I listen. I mean, I'm interested in human nature and as a whole, just as you are. So it's something that I'm following and I'm hearing, and I have children. Like one of the reasons that I'm talking about this too is like the difference. And when we're talking about leapfrogging, my daughter is in a college at Howard, and the class is 70% women. 70% women.
70% women.
70%. Like the guys are not going to college anymore. And so what that is doing ultimately is creating a situation where all these girls are going to not have men that are on their level, you know? And it's just terrible. But in any case, that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in this stuff. But what is going on in dating is what's going on in society as a whole. Everyone is essentially isolating, or they're atomizing. I think Chris Williamson calls it. And if you don't watch Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson, you should. He focuses on the issues having to do with men as well. But in any case, what's happening is, again, I write about this too, but we are ultimately people like who do not want to be. We are people who have contradictions biologically, right? On the one hand, we need attachment. Like oxytocin is something that we need to feel. We need to feel people, but at the same time, we also want to avoid people because it creates friction, right? Like if you either are going to be dominated or you have to hold your boundaries. If you hold your boundaries, it creates friction, and that causes stress, right? And so a lot of the time, like we would, if not for the need for herd protection, we would all just be roaming around by ourselves. All right, this is the theory that this anthropologist, what's his name, Dunbar, has talked about. But in any case, the issue is that in societies, early societies where we needed each other, we were forced to be with one another. So the need for each other, like for survival, meant that we could not we had to deal with the friction. These days, as our big brains allow us to run from every sort of pain, we are now isolating ourselves. We don't have to go and talk to anybody because we could just sit on the internet and like type away. And, we could watch porn or what's the OnlyFans. And that's one of the ways that we'll get our, our dopamine hits. And so nobody is skilled. Nobody wants to experience the rejection that may come from actually approaching a girl. Right. And so that's one of the issues. And then on the other side of it, you have a whole bunch of women who are just now asking for the minute you approach them, it's like, okay, here's my Cash App. You know what I'm saying?
Cash App. Or what's your credit score?
Well, credit score is not a bad thing. As far as credit score is a good thing. You should be finding out what your credit score. I wouldn't say the first date, but if it's about to get serious, I need to know your credit score. But also,
not because I know you have a train of thought going there. How soon should you offer your Cash App? Or send a request of Cash App?
I think you should send a request for Cash App after we are officially together. That's just crazy any other way. This is not to say this is not to say that the man shouldn't pay for the date, but like Cash App, just throwing a Cash App? No, ma'am. I'm gonna take you out. We're gonna have something to eat. I will pay for the dinner.
Absolutely.
But throwing out the Cash App, no. You can ask me for money when we are together. Like when you are my girl, you can ask for money.
But I'm also paying attention to the ladies that will actually say, no, we're going to share the bill. There are actually some out there that say, no, I don't want you to pay for me. I want to share the bill, because they're trying to make some kind of statement or prove a point. Have you heard of this before?
I'm sure that is out there. I would say that is less and less. I'm not hearing that more happening. But I feel like the women who would do that will probably be the ones who would consider themselves feminists, or and if I were advising them, I would say not to do that. Like the man, you need to you let the man feel like a man, number one. And there is a role that we're playing. We are literally created by God or nature to have the man go and pursue you. Let him play his God-given role. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's
It's a
supposed to do.
struggle.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And so, like there is a reason why OnlyFans is making so much money. Women are naturally built with value. That's it. Now you can't argue anything with respect to that. The
Right.
money tells you what it is. Like the money is there. Like they are naturally built with value. We have to go and build it.
That's true. That's the result.
Ain't
That's
no
the
man
result.
making that kind
You
of
can
money.
argue about that.
Exactly.
That's the result. Yeah.
Can't argue about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay. Let them pay.
Now, follow-up question to that. With regards to everything we're talking about, boys, we left the boys, we left them behind, right?
Yeah.
But also that's not a good thing for the ladies, right?
Yeah.
What is the issue? Maybe 2 or 3 issues that you feel like we've had to deal with in marriage as a direct or indirect result of this issue we're talking about right now.
That's so crazy. I think that might be that's one of the articles I'm going to write about too. So you guys are going to get a preview about this, but
they're following you, so they're following you.
Oh yeah, on Medium.
Yeah, well, I just posted your Instagram page.
So yes, if you want to see the next few articles that I'm going to be writing about, just follow me on Medium, and then you'll get notification of when I post something. And I want to just say too, like one of the reasons I like writing too, I think it's if you take the time, it allows you to think through it more than just hearing it. You process it and take it in more. That's what I feel. But in any case,
marriage.
Marriage. So a couple of things that is happening here. One is that a lot of times, if you are an ambitious man, like a lot of times, you will be an ambitious man. The woman will see you and be like, "Oh, that's my king right there. I see his potential. I see the superpower in him, and I know it's going to come out. And what I got to go do and be like the helper, and I'm going to support him and make sure that it comes out." And a lot of times, what they don't realize is in doing that, they give him cover for his insecurities. Right? They come in and they're like, okay, everything is okay and everything like that. And they're doing that out of love and support. But then that gives you the comfort that you need, that you don't have to go out. Like that low level pain of not being there is comforted enough, just enough that you don't have to go out and figure out how to get yourself out of that pain. And so eventually what they start doing is they start to say, well, I already have the wife and I have the kids. Okay, so my legacy could be through my children. I'm going to go and raise them. And so instead of them continuing down the path of becoming the king that they aspire to be, they give up on that. It's just too difficult. And so they think that's fine. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to devote myself to my family, my wife and my kids. I'm going to shower with love and all that other stuff. And it's not enough. Eventually the woman is still wanting all of the security that finances will bring. She's like, as she gets older, she wants to make sure that she's buffered, that her children are buffered. And so eventually what that does is it creates resentment in the family, and it creates like, why aren't you doing all the things that I wanted, all the things, like where's your ambition? There is this video called Nevermind by a rapper named Joyner Lucas with Maya, who like this really Joyner Lucas, called Nevermind, NVM. Look that up, because it like she sings a part. I mean, it's him rapping, but like he sings her part, he raps her part, he raps his part, and it's like it describes perfectly the kind of things that a lot of men go through, that like relationships go through right before they end up in divorce. And then these same men who are like, man, but I devoted my time and energy towards this woman, are wondering where it went wrong. Why is she still, just nagging and wanting all this stuff? She's never satisfied and all this other stuff, because they think that love is enough, and eventually it's not. Your good looks and your swag is not enough. And so these guys, after they get divorced, these are the same people that become passport boys, and they hate on black women and say they're African American, red pills, and the African Americans are not great. So now they go and try to find more affordable,
and then they find the same situation probably in a different rap.
Eventually, I mean, because eventually everybody gets, you can't settle. Everybody, settling is not like, everyone gets to the point where it's like, this is routine.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about with boredom. And so if you settle for that, this is exactly what's going to happen. Eventually they'll get there too, except they're now going into a country where their dollar goes a longer way, ultimately.
Something is paying, something is giving. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and the truth is, what you ultimately are saying is you did not succeed here, right? Yeah. Like you're not a winner. Like, because why do you have to go? Like, if you had the money, if you had Elon Musk money, if you had LeBron James money, Jay-Z money, do you think you'd be in, like, having to go in another country? Like, all you're saying is you failed.
You're just saying
you didn't realize that.
You're just saying you're the weakest of them, wherever you're coming
exactly.
from. Yeah. That's the reality, man. Yeah. So now when it comes to parenting, you've raised I don't know why I'm saying raised, but you got one boy, two girls, right? You're a tad bit ahead of me, right? I've got two boys and one girl, right? Do you find that there's a difference between raising a boy and girls, or there's no difference for you?
You mean in terms of them or me and how I treat them?
Your experience, personally.
Well, I'm a person who operates based off of what I think the best, what I know the theory is on raising people well. So I try to be very even keeled as much as I can. But I know for a fact that birth order had a big part to play in how I raise my children. I don't know if you're familiar with birth order and that sort of thing.
No, enlighten us, please.
All right. So birth order, ultimately, like, you'll find that the youngest kid, they're always the one who are, spoiled. They get to do whatever the heck they want. Right. The oldest kid is the more, strictly, he's got it all together, but he's, you've asked him to do everything because you're expecting him to do that. Plus the fact that he's a boy, so you're expecting everything from him. And then the middle child is the one who's left in the middle, just basically like, I'm not the oldest, so I don't get attention that way. I'm not the youngest, so I don't get attention by being doted on. And so I think, to the extent possible, I tried to avoid that, but I don't think there was any way around it for us. So I feel like that played a bigger piece in how I parented than gender.
I see. So what about in terms of how they react or respond to you? Anything that stands out for you for the girls as opposed to the boy?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I can attribute. Yeah, I just don't know that I can attribute anything to their gender. Maybe I was just not paying attention to it. I mean, they're different, but I don't know if it's because of, gender.
That's fair. That's enlightening for me. My baby girl, she's the last. So and she's like far from them, So it's hard for me to read that as well. And in many ways she yields to them and, kind of like follow how they do things, except that she's a girly girl, So I was just curious to see if there's any difference, because some people will swear up and down about all the different divides that we have in humanity, or the humans, right? Either we're talking about race, either we're talking about tribe, or we're talking about gender. They swear everything by all religion. They swear everything by it, and they generalize based off of that, and it causes so much problems because they don't listen. They just make assumptions off of all the stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked you that question. So it's kind of interesting that you're like, I don't know if this.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know so there's two things. So you know that my two oldest are 10 months apart. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more easier to try to treat them similarly, kind of like what you would do with twins, than it would be if they were,
Years
several years
apart.
apart, like
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's possible that I would have even been different and I would have then treated them differently. Here's another thing that happened that I don't think is necessarily gender, but how I responded to them. So, my son, I wanted to do sports. So I used to always be with him on basketball and all that good stuff. So I spent a lot of time with
Right.
him, and that allowed me to also teach him a whole bunch of different things, particularly around math, because he caught that quickly. Caught that more. He caught that better. Like he excelled far better than his sister did.
Okay.
Because I like when I was doing sports with him, like he was shooting the
It
basketball,
was
we were doing,
it was numbers.
we're like, okay, how many did you make versus how many did you miss? Like, what's the
Yeah.
percentage? All that was something that was consistent, like we were working with, and so I like my daughter was doing what is it, ballet? Like, oh, I can't
Right.
help you,
Right.
you know,
Right.
no. So
Right.
that's where it was.
Right. But I believe that the universe has its way of balancing things out. We have to do our part. Like this thing we're talking about growth, right? You're either
Yeah.
going downwards or upwards. I don't believe that there's a stagnant position, because the world is moving with or without us, So there's no,
Yeah.
oh, I just know what I know and that's it. Sort of kind of like how religion might suggest. Like what
Yeah.
you know is that's it and that's it. There's so many moving variables, and I think that's why we should probably listen more, continue to listen. I think a major highlight or a major part of our experience that highlights that is our relationships.
Yeah.
It shows, it exposes you. If you have, I think you mentioned that in the article as well. It exposes your weaknesses. And if you, so we have to keep working on the areas where we have strength, where we can balance each other and stuff like that. So I really appreciate your time here, bro. What would you like to leave us with until next time?
Let me say, okay, first, so I got a couple of articles coming out. I'm going to be tackling the loneliness epidemic, particularly amongst men.
Okay.
And so look out for that, and it has a lot to do with vulnerability. So just look out for that.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm definitely
and look out for the article on how. Yeah, look out for the article on how loving women unknowingly keep their men down.
Wow. Repeat that, please.
Yeah.
Repeat that.
Loving women unknowingly keep their men down. Now, it's not because it's not their fault. They just, if your intention is to be the helper, you're just not doing it right. You need to learn. You need to read this article on what you need to do to help them better.
Are you going to write a book at some point?
I would love to make some money just writing books and getting a residual income. I just feel like I don't know that the content that I'm writing flows together in all one piece. Is just thoughts and ideas. So I have to figure out exactly how that works.
All right, keep writing. I think that's going to figure itself out. And I'll definitely, hopefully you'll come back again, continue to give us more. But thank you, bro, for coming back and dropping some gems on us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for lending me your audience. Check out my stuff. If you like it, please share it.
Absolutely. Tell Bola I said what's up. I'll call you guys later.
All right, sounds good. Will do.
Take care. All right.
Take it easy.
Ladies and gentlemen, and that was awesome. If you really like that kind of content, I don't know, just show me let's show the stream some love. Drop some likes, share it. I can see the number of shares. So if I see more, I'm looking at the numbers, we'll do more of it. Okay. Two-Face is not our enemy. Obviously not, right? Neither am I your enemy. I just want us to pay a little bit closer attention to the obvious cruise stuff in any of this stuff. I want us to learn from it. These things are deeper, but because they're so deep, I want you to have some fun while you're at your learning journey, your experience, your life. Learn, have some fun. Your partner is not your enemy. There are deeper issues going on. Okay, and if you so conclude that they are your enemy, just leave them. Just leave them so you can actually move on to actually learn, because your whole life is ahead of you, right? So, but it's a good chance it's not about leaving them, because your shadow follows you everywhere you go. Okay, so hopefully, please everybody make sure you show Mark some love. Just go to medium.com/@mark.ordina. You can also find him on Instagram at instagram.com, or just go to the handle 11 kilometer per second. Okay, so go follow him, follow his content. He takes his time to write these pieces. I think he does some videos every now and then as well, or just go follow him. But he has some insightful things to share. It gets you thinking a little bit more about your experiences, about the nature of human beings, and success overall. Okay, thank you so much, Natu. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. We'll see you guys on the next one. I'll be back sooner than you think. I'll be back very, very soon. We have more to talk about when it comes to Two-Face, so don't get it twisted. Also, we still have to talk about Candy and Todd. We have a lot of things to talk about, so don't be too far away. Make sure you turn on your notifications so that you're notified whenever we go live. And I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.